Welcome to the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs City Council Initiatives Funding Requirements Tutorial for Fiscal Year 2025. My name is Moikansi Kama, and I am a Program Officer here at the Department of Cultural Affairs, also known as DCLA. This video is a quick guide to help you submit complete and accurate funding packages for Fiscal Year 2025 City Council Initiative Awards. This review will cover where to find the required forms, how to complete each form, and highlight common errors. Submission of error-free packages will help expedite the process so you can receive your initial payment faster.
¿Tiene alguna pregunta en español? Puede pedir asistencia en español enviando un email al helpdesk cdfhelpdesk@culture.nyc.gov. Uno de los Program Officers que hablan español le contestarán su pregunta lo más rápido posible.
For questions or requests regarding accessibility or accommodations when viewing this video or submitting your funding materials package, please contact our Disability Facilitator at disabilityfacilitator@culture.nyc.gov. There are 5 key sections in this tutorial. We'll start with the initial downloads you'll need to begin. We'll review required uploads for grant awards that are less than $100,000. We'll take a look at additional requirements, review payments, and we'll end with a review of the uploads required for groups with awards totaling $100,000 or more. If your award is less than $100,000, you may stop watching this video after we review payments. However, if your grant is $100,000 or more, there is specific information for you at the end, and we strongly suggest that you watch the entire video. So let's get started. You'll need to download a couple of documents first. Since the payment process begins with your award letter, which will be emailed and can be found in your DCLA account, we'll start there. To access your letter, log into the Salesforce portal and go to your dashboard to access the appropriate City Council Initiative form. Click View Download on the grant form. Select Grant Award Letter from the drop list. Your letter will pop up in a separate window. Download it. The letter will look like this one. Please review your award letter for important information on the grant. Click on the Guidelines and Funding Materials link in the letter for key information and required grant documents. The link is prominently placed in the 4th paragraph right under your designation amounts. Please remember to refer back to your award letter for instructions and, if you happen to misplace, your funding requirements document. Now let's take a look at a few sections from the Guidelines and Funding Requirements document. This PDF is a critical tool used throughout your initiative payment process, and it contains extremely important links and information. Here's the top half of page 1. Here you'll see all of the initiatives listed up top. Next is a snapshot of page 4, where, as you can see, towards the bottom, you'll find a separate Doing Business data form linked for each initiative. And finally, here's a glimpse at the last page, which provides a handy checklist for your use. In addition to watching this tutorial, please be sure to carefully read this document and follow all its instructions. Remember, most of the uploads required to receive your initial payment are linked in this document. For that reason, all grantees are encouraged to keep the funding requirements document by their side when submitting their funding materials. Now that you've reviewed your Guidelines and Funding Requirements document, you can complete the initiative form. Go back to your dashboard, select the appropriate initiative form, and click the Resume Initiative Form button in the lower right corner. Next, navigate to the upper left corner of the page. Click the links to read the instructions, complete the contact info, and submit your project synopsis. Once complete, the synopsis will populate Exhibit A of your grant agreement and generate a grant agreement document. Then, you'll continue on to the Funding Materials Upload link, where, as you can see just above the purple arrow, you will find a link to download your grant agreement. Please note, if your program officer requests revisions to your project synopsis, after you save those revisions, you'll need to download the grant agreement here to submit your updated document. Now let's quickly review exactly what you are required to submit. You are each required to submit a signed and dated grant agreement. All groups that receive more than $5,000 must submit a completed Doing Business Data form. You are all also required to submit a lobby certification. For many initiative grantees, those 3 documents are the only uploads needed to receive your initial payment. However, if you are a new grantee, you will also need to submit a substitute W-9. And grantees with awards totaling $100,000 or more must submit insurance documents and other required materials. Now is also a good time to mention that if you received FY24 funding from DCLA, before Fiscal 25 funds may be released, your organization must have submitted an approved FY24 final report. Remember, all grantees must submit the materials required for receiving city support. Please refer to your downloaded Initiative Funding Requirements document for details. Again, the Initiative Funding Requirements document is available in your Initiative Award Letter on the DCLA website and via the link at the bottom of this page. Now that we've downloaded our award letter and submitted our synopsis to generate and download the grant agreement, we can focus on completing and uploading the funding documents. Okay, you have already downloaded your grant agreement. To prepare it for upload, make sure you provide the entire document, including the appendix, and be sure to sign and date page 3 of the agreement. We have very specific guidelines for how all of your documents must be signed. The signature should be a digital reproduction of the signatory's handwritten signature, or a scan of a wet signature, which is a document that was signed in ink. The digital reproduction can be a digital photo of the signatory's autograph, but it cannot be a typed signature. Please do not select a cursive or italic font and type in the signatory's name. If the signature is typed in, your grant agreement will be kicked back to you for re-signing, and this slows down the payment process. Documents with e-signatures submitted using DocuSign or another signature equivalent are acceptable. But please note, DCLA does not provide access to DocuSign or other software and will not reimburse fees incurred by organizations that opt to use this method. The last page of your grant agreement is a certification by insurance broker or agent. If your total award is under $100,000, you do not need to do anything with this page. You don't need to get it notarized. Just leave it blank at the end of your grant agreement. These instructions are also included on page 3 of your Initiative Funding Requirements document. Next is the Doing Business Data form. All grantees that receive more than $5,000 must complete the Doing Business Data form. You can find this form linked in the Initiative Funding Requirements document on page 4 under Doing Business Data form. You'll notice that we provided a separate form for each initiative. You must use these specific forms. Please do not do a Google search for the Doing Business Data form or upload a version of the form that you have submitted to a different agency or even a different DCLA grant. Be sure to select and use the appropriate form linked in this funding requirements document. We are not able to accept incorrect versions, and if needed, we will come back to you with a request to submit the correct form, and this will slow down your payment process. So let's talk about how to complete the Doing Business Data form. If you use the links we provided, the top gray box will be correctly pre-populated. Under Entity Information, type in your EIN and entity name. In the gray Filing Status box, you must select one of the 3 options and follow the corresponding instructions accordingly. Those instructions will either tell you which portions of the form you need to fill out or skip to the bottom of the last page. If you have previously filled out a doing business data form and select option 2 or 3, you must also provide the date of your previously submitted form. You must at minimum include the month and year that your previous form was dated. Regardless of which option you choose, you must fill out all fields in the gray certification box at the end of the form, sign it, and date it with the current date. This slide only applies to new grantees. If this is your first city grant, you will need to complete and upload a substitute W-9 form to submit your information for the city's financial management system. That form can be found linked on page 3 of the Initiative Funding Requirements document, listed under For New Grantees. Please only use the form found in that link. You will see that it has a green NYC logo in the upper right-hand corner. Again, we can only accept the version of the form that is linked in the Funding Requirements document, so please do not search for the form online or submit an old form from your records. All City Council Fund recipients must submit a lobbying certification, which is linked in the Initiative Funding Requirements document near the top of page 4 under For City Council Discretionary Funding. When completing this document, make sure that the top portion of the form is completely filled out with your entity information. You must then select at least one of the bolded options and print your name, sign, and date at the bottom. Here again, please follow the instructions for acceptable e-signatures that are laid out in the Funding Requirements document, and do not simply type in your name in a cursive font. Now we'll review accessing the funding materials upload. However, if you are comfortable with uploading documents, you should still keep watching because there are more documents to review, and we want to ensure that you provide all the correct documentation. All your required funding materials will be uploaded via the Funding Materials Upload in the Salesforce portal. To access the Upload section, navigate to the appropriate application in your dashboard and click the Review Initiative Application button. Then navigate over to the left sidebar and click the Funding Materials Upload link. Upload the required materials here. The Funding Materials Upload page will only provide fields for documents that are required. So if you don't see a field for a document, it's not missing. It's just not visible because you are not required to submit that specific document. Please note, if your award is under $100,000, all the forms you need to submit, with the exception of your grant agreement, can be found linked in the Funding Requirements document. Once you have all of your required materials uploaded to the Funding Materials Upload section, click Save and Next at the bottom of the screen. Follow the prompts all the way through to the Final Review and Submit form. Click Finish to receive a confirmation. Note again that those with awards of $100,000 or more have additional insurance requirements that you will need to submit that we have not yet reviewed. Before completing your submission, you will also need to upload those materials to the Funding Materials Upload form. Replacing uploads. Once you submit your materials, active contacts in Salesforce will receive a confirmation of the submission via email. You will also be notified after your grant materials package is reviewed. We will either confirm that it is complete and that DCLA will move forward with processing your initial payment, or notify you that it is incomplete and revisions are required. If you receive notification that revisions are needed, please log in to the portal and click View Notes on the appropriate form. A pop-up window will display basic information about the revisions and the date the changes are due. Then, to implement the revisions request, click Review Initiative Form. Then go to the navigation links on the left and click Funding Materials Upload. As you can see toward the bottom of this slide, on the Funding Materials Upload page, just above the purple arrow and below the uploaded form, there is a light blue box where you will find a note with specific details regarding the requested revision. Please make the requested change to your document. You must click the red trash can icon to delete the existing file and to re-engage the upload feature. Then, upload the corrected document and click Save. Please be sure to carefully follow the instructions provided so that we can mark your grant materials package complete on the next review and move forward with processing your initial payment. Multiple rounds of revisions slow down the process and will slow down your payment. Before we delve into payments, there are 4 additional requirements that do not require uploading that you must be aware of. 1. All organizations must have insurance and provide proof of insurance if requested. While we expect all groups to have insurance, only groups receiving awards of $100,000 or more need to submit documentation at this time. If your award total is less than $100,000, you will not see fields for uploading insurance documents in your fund materials upload form because you are not required to submit proof of insurance at this time. 2. If you receive a grant of $100,000 or more, you are required to submit insurance documents to receive your initial payment. 3. All grantees must be current in filing with the New York State Charities Bureau or have a certificate of exemption. This applies to all groups without exception. And 4. If your award is more than $25,000, you are required to enroll in electronic funds transfer via PIP, the Payee Information Portal. More about that in a moment. Charities Bureau requirements. To confirm your status with the Charities Bureau, visit their registry search, shown on this slide and linked in the Funding Requirements document on page 7, under Compliance with New York State Charities Bureau Requirements. Contact the Charities Bureau immediately if your organization's status is not current. If your nonprofit is exempt from filing with the Charities Bureau, email the Certificate of Exemption to your program officer. If you don't know who that person is, contact the Help Desk at cdfhelpdesk@culture.nyc.gov, or if you're a CIG, email ciginfo@culture.nyc.gov, and your program officer will respond. Again, the link in the Charities Bureau registry is linked on page 7 of your Funding Requirements document. All right, we have reached the most exciting topic of today's tutorial: payment. Once a review of your materials is complete and compliance with all funding requirements has been confirmed, an initial payment will be sent from the city's finance department. Payments will be issued from the New York City Department of Finance, either via check or electronic funds transfer, or EFT. If your award is $25,000 or greater, you are required to enroll in EFT. That said, all organizations are eligible and encouraged to sign up for EFT regardless of grant amount. To enroll in EFT, make changes to your payment method, or to change your address, you will need to visit the city's Payee Information Portal, PIP. This is PIP's login page. This website is linked twice in the Funding Requirements document. You'll find it on page 3 under For Grantees with New Mailing Addresses, and again on page 7 under Payment. Again, enrollment in EFT is required for grantees receiving more than $25,000, but we encourage all grantees to enroll in EFT to avoid fees for paper checks and to expedite your payment process. If your address is changed, you will need to update it via PIP. Please also notify your program officer of a change in address. If you encounter issues with PIP itself, please reach out to PIP's help desk at pip@fisa-opa.nyc.gov. We at DCLA will not be able to help you with any technical issues that you encounter with PIP, since we do not manage that system. Please note that organizations with an open contract with another city agency may get an alert that they are not permitted to update their information via PIP. If that is the case for your organization, please contact your program officer.
Once all of your documents are submitted and approved, you can always return to the dashboard to access your application, award letter, and grant agreement.
If your award total is less than $100,000, you have reached the end of this tutorial. Thank you for watching, and as a reminder, please read the Initiative Funding Requirements document and keep it close by as you submit your funding materials. Fewer errors means faster payments. Finally, as you can see on this slide, the deadline for your grant materials is ASAP. The sooner you submit your documents, the sooner you are paid. We hope this video was helpful, and thank you for watching. If you are a grantee receiving $100,000 or more, we will forge ahead. Please keep watching this video for additional tips on submitting your insurance and other required materials. All right, for those of you receiving awards of $100,000 or more, remember that to whom much is given, much is expected. You all have additional documents to submit, so stay with me as we leap into the final segments of this video. The documents we are about to review will all be found on pages 4 through 7 of your Initiative Funding Requirements document. All grantees receiving awards of $100,000 or more are required to submit the following: Commercial General Liability Certificates of Insurance to cover the grant period, also known as your CGL. Additional Insured Endorsement to match the CGL. Certificate of Broker or Agent, which is the last page of your grant agreement. Proof of Workers' Compensation Insurance. Proof of Disability and Paid Family Leave Insurance. An organization certification, and 2 individual certifications. Here are some insurance tips and requirements. Agreements with organizations receiving $100,000 or more must be reviewed and approved by our agency chief contracting officer before any payment can be issued. Legal names and addresses of organizations should be consistent throughout all submitted documents. Insurance coverage must be for the full grant period, and in this case, that's July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. If you need to submit multiple insurance documents to show full coverage, please combine them into one PDF. And the broker certification in your grant agreement must be signed by your insurance broker or agent and notarized. We recommend you share the FY25 Initiative Funding Requirements document with your insurance broker or agent and keep it on hand for detailed instructions and examples. We'll start this review with your Commercial General Liability Insurance. We strongly encourage you to click on the Accord 25 certificate link on page 5 of the Initiative Funding Requirements document and view the sample certificate. As you can see on this slide, and will find in the sample, the fields that you will need to fill out have been filled out in blue as an example. A few other things to note. On the Accord 25 certificate, the description of operations field must include the following sentence verbatim. The City of New York, including its officials and employees, is an additional insured. And the NAIC insurance code must be typed for all insurers affording coverage. Also, the Department of Cultural Affairs must be identified as the certificate holder using this specific name and address. City of New York, Department of Cultural Affairs, 31 Chambers Street, 2nd floor, New York, New York, 10007. Your insurance must cover the entire grant period. However, if your organization's insurance coverage differs from the grant period, multiple certificates may be required. For example, if your policy effective date is September 2024 and policy expiration date is September 2025, you must submit the certificate for September 1st, 2024 to September 1st, 2025, and the certificate for September 1st, 2023 to September 1st, 2024, so that together they cover the full grant period of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. If insurance for the entire grant period has not yet been acquired, the certificates by your organization must cover at minimum July 1st, 2024 through the date you submit your grant materials. If you are submitting two certificates, please combine them into a single PDF and upload them to the CGL field in the portal. If, like the example, your policy period is July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, you only need to submit the one certificate. Please refer to the FY25 Initiative Funding Requirements PDF for an expanded explanation of the items required for your CGL. Additional Insured Endorsement. In tandem with CGL coverage, an additional insured endorsement that includes the city as an additional insured must be submitted. ISO forms CG20-2604 or CG20-1004 are commonly used. Both are shown on this slide. You can submit one or the other. You don't need to submit both. Links to samples of both forms can be found in the Initiative Funding Requirements document on page 6 under Additional Insured Endorsement. When you fill out the form, make sure the policy number matches the policy number on the Accord certification. If there are multiple certificates covering the FY25 grant period with different policy numbers, DCLA requires an endorsement for each. If you are submitting two, one for each policy, please combine them into a single PDF to upload. Under Name of Additional Insured in the schedule, you must include the following language verbatim. The City of New York, including its officials and employees, is an additional insured. Please do not include DCLA's address. However, if and only if your insurance broker requires that an address be included, you must include care of in front of DCLA's address. Finally, if you choose to use Form CG20-1004, you must include the addresses of every location where activities occur. Therefore, we recommend using the form on the left, Form CG20-2604. Please refer to page 6 of the FY25 Initiative Funding Requirements PDF for written instructions. Certification by agent, broker, or agent. You can find this form linked on page 6 under item 3 in the FY25 Initiative Funding Requirements document. A copy is also provided at the end of your grant agreement. A certification by insurance broker or agent form must be provided by your insurance broker or agent to confirm the information on your CGL coverage is accurate. Note that this form must be notarized and must be current. Previously submitted versions of this form from prior fiscal years are not acceptable. The FY25 Initiative Funding Requirements document also includes additional information about this form. Workers' compensation and disability and paid family leave benefits. If your organization has compensated employees, you are required to have adequate coverage for the entirety of the grant period, July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. As with the other insurance certificates, if your current coverage does not cover the whole grant period, you will need to submit more than one certificate. There are several forms that can be used as documentation. The C-105.2 is commonly used. A sample form is shown here for your reference. If you are insured by the New York State Insurance Fund, NYSIF, you may obtain a U-26.3 form at the fund's website, www.nysif.com. Click on Print a Certificate and follow the prompts. Disability and paid family leave benefits. There are several forms that can be used as documentation for this as well. The DB-120.1 form is commonly used. On both certificates, under name and address of the entity requesting proof of coverage, please include DCLA's name and address exactly as it appears here. Or, and this is very rare, if your organization has no employees, as defined by New York State law, and you are not required to carry workers' compensation and/or disability benefits coverage, you must submit a signed certificate of attestation of exemption. That's the CE-200. Organizations can use New York Business Express to file and obtain a certification of attestation online. Additional instructions can be found on the FY25 Initiative Funding Requirements PDF. If this is your situation, please contact your program officer for further instructions on uploading this document. Please refer to page 6, item number 4 of the FY25 Initiative Funding Requirements PDF for more detailed instructions. Links to commonly used forms can also be found there with sample text for reference. In addition to the insurance requirements, you must also submit an organization certification and 2 individual certifications. Please make sure that the top of each is completely filled out and that you have used the FY25 form. For the organization certification, under number 9, please include the names of your CEO or Executive Director and CFO or Treasurer. If this is the same person, please list their name under each. If any of the 9 listed statements are not true, an explanation on a separate sheet must be attached to the organization certification, and the 2 together should be uploaded as a single PDF to the organization certification field. For the 2 individual certifications, one for your CEO or Executive Director and one for your CFO or Treasurer, please combine the 2 into a single PDF and upload it to the individual certification field. If your CEO and CFO are the same person, you only need to submit one form. As with the organization certification, if any of the statements are not true, an explanation on a separate sheet must be attached to the individual certifications, and all pages must be uploaded as a single PDF to the individual certification field. All forms should be signed and dated at the bottom. These documents are linked on page 7 of the Initiative Funding Requirements document. Once all of your forms are completed, you will upload them into the corresponding fields in the Funding Materials Upload page and follow the instructions for submitting laid out earlier in this presentation. And the procedure for review and revision will take place as described. Because of the additional procedures required to process grants of $100,000 or more, it may take longer to issue your award. We appreciate your patience in this matter. But you can also help us to process your award more quickly by carefully following the instructions provided in this video and in the Initiative Funding Requirements document. If you need any assistance, please reach out to your program officer. If you don't know who your program officer is, email cdfhelpdesk@culture.nyc.gov for assistance. And if your organization is a CIG, email ciginfo@culture.nyc.gov. The deadline to submit your grant materials is ASAP. We have now reached the end of this presentation. Please retain the Initiative Funding Requirements PDF for reference throughout the fiscal year. Thank you for reviewing this video, and we look forward to processing your funding materials package as soon as possible. Goodbye.